Okay, good evening YouTube, and welcome to episode 4 of the FPL Family. Episode 4 already, so we've already been going sort of 3 or 4 weeks. Thank you everybody for all of your comments and your likes and shares on the videos. Thanks for your follows and your comments on Twitter and Instagram as well, at FPL Family on both of those media. So. Episode 4, what are we going to talk about? We've just come off the back of, we're filming this Sunday night, so we're just coming off the back of what was frankly a pretty awesome opening game week, right? I mean, from Friday night's ridiculous 4-3 at Arsenal, I mean, we tinker all summer, and then it's like game week 1, it just blows up and goes crazy, right? So Arsenal 4-3, Saturday lunchtime we get to that game, and it's, Liverpool 3-3, what the hell's that about? Well, I know what that's about. We still can't defend.
These teams did not play ball with my fantasy team.
No, I know. You tinker from week to week to week, and it just goes like completely not what you expected. And then you get to the 3 o'clocks. Chelsea lose. City do a job. To be fair to them, they did well on Saturday afternoon. And then today, a couple of really awesome games. So Spurs beat Newcastle at Newcastle. So fair play to Spurs. And also Manchester United and Lukaku have just come off the back of beating West Ham United at Old Trafford.
Thrilled about it.
As expected, I hasten to add. The battle between us it got kind of emotional and heated today, didn't it?
I do believe I threw a plastic teacup at you.
The whole FPL Family #Kaneless thing got a bit emotional in here this afternoon.
Got very emotional.
Well, I'll be honest, I was hiding behind the sofa the whole time during that Spurs game. It was. Because to be fair, he was really unlucky, wasn't he, Kane? I know you don't want to talk about it, but this is an FPL vlog. We have to talk about Harry Kane.
I said to you, didn't I, earlier on when he was playing? It's just so frustrating because he could have easily scored 2.
Hit the post late on as well.
Oh. Well, yeah.
You were up actually, weren't you?
I'd gone.
Celebrating.
Absolutely gone.
Because you already got Ali, so that's worked up for you.
That was working out.
You were waiting for Kane to score.
Waiting, and I just kept saying to her, I need him to score because I knew what was going to happen in that 4 o'clock game. And
Lukaku come out.
He still can't score in August in the Premier League. What we're going to do?
Hey, listen, I think we should be keeping him and not throwing him out.
We're definitely not going out with the dishwasher.
But we'll come to that game in a bit.
Should we go through the game week?
Well, let's talk about what we're going to talk about on this episode. So we're going to review what we've just seen. So we're going to talk about some of the games, and we're going to somehow summarise the madness that was game week 1, right?
Crazies.
From a fantasy Premier League perspective. We're then going to talk about some of the players that are coming to the fore on the back of this game week. So I can already think of a few in my head that I'm thinking, I might want to start drafting those guys in.
Yeah.
We're going to introduce a new feature called Sam's Radar. So hopefully you can see the radar on the left-hand side and tell us if you think this is really cheesy. I thought it was a good idea. I'd love to hear what you guys think. And on the radar, we're going to talk about each player that we think is kind of coming to the fore in this game week or making a case for our teams, if you like. And then Sam's going to either put that person in the middle of the radar, and that's we're really thinking about transferring this guy in, and he's got a place in our squads. Versus, he's outside on the radar, he's on the periphery. We're thinking about him. He's had a good game week. Might have some tough fixtures coming up, but he's still on the radar.
This comes on the back of me constantly telling Lee this weekend, I really thought about him through the whole game week.
Oh, this is crazy. And I saw this on Twitter loads, right? People saying, I had Higazi for like loads and loads of time in my fantasy league. And I had Mounier in my team for ages. It's like, well, if you do 132 drafts, as we both did, each, I think, then you've probably had these players at some stage over the summer, right? So I'm pretty sure most people kind of had Higazi and had Mounier, and I myself was kind of toying between Jesus and Aguero. So, if I put all of my drafts together over the summer, I've probably had most of these players, right? So, but that's what was great about game week 1 from an FPL perspective, was that we didn't get 1-0 here, 1-0 there, 0-0 with it wasn't a Spurs game. It wasn't like 1-0 Spurs Dembele. It was goals.
And mostly from people you would have expected.
Well, FPL assets, right? So these are players that people were picking in their drafts. So actually, Twitter was going crazy. My phone kept pinging me with lots of different FPL updates. So it was a wicked game week, I thought.
Yeah, you were particularly enjoying the Spurs game, weren't you? Talking to somebody on Twitter. Hiding behind, who didn't have Harry Kane too.
Oh, trust me,
made a friend.
I did not enjoy that Spurs game, and I actually looked, and I think I said this in last week's episode. You've now got Spurs are now on TV, I think next Sunday, and the following Sunday. So I've got to hide behind the sofa for 3 Sundays in a row. It worked for me this week, but it's only a matter of time before Kane
and Chelsea's
explodes,
kids, if they don't sign someone this week.
Well, we'll come to Chelsea in a minute because they looked a bit in disarray, didn't they? That was a result we were not expecting. So that's what we'll do. We'll discuss the game week that's just happened. We'll try and summarise that madness. In future episodes of this vlog, we might be able to summarise in 5 minutes, but we'll try and do it.
It might take longer today.
In a few minutes tonight. We'll talk about Sam's radar, who's in the middle of the radar, who's on the periphery. What else are we going to talk about? What else?
We're going to have a little quick look at our teams and what happened, or for me, what went wrong. We'll have a little look at game week 2, what's coming up for us next week, and then we'll have a little think about your top pick, my Jammy Pick, and then move on to people that we're potentially going to captain and transfer in.
And we're doing this on a Sunday night, right? So you guys will probably be watching this on maybe a Monday or a Tuesday when we load it onto YouTube. But we're doing this on a Sunday night. And we thought that was good because it kind of enables us. So we're in kind of FPL sort of mode. We haven't gone back to work yet on a Monday, so we're kind of thinking about what's just happened. You know, sort of knee-jerk transfers that we might want to make over the course of this week. So keep up to date with us on Twitter and Instagram because anything we say here might change over the course of the week in terms of injury news and stuff. Right?
Sure, and of course if with the transfer window still being open,
people are coming and going.
There's comings and goings, so we that's to consider as well. So if we change our opinions during the week, that'll go up on Twitter or Instagram, I'm sure.
Cool. All right. So tell me about your team then. What happened? It was solid. Okay, right? It wasn't terrible.
So my reflection.
You're acting as if it's like the end of the world.
Right. Well, it was. Yeah. I mean, I had 49 points overall this week, which on the grand scheme of things was pretty bad. But if you take Lukaku out of the equation, it's not too bad. I think there's a lot of players in my team, and on the back of Saturday, I was
quietly confident coming into today.
Well, I was in terms of Harry Kane and Ali, but I was quite pessimistic about the team as a whole. But actually, the more I looked at them and the more I looked at what's coming up for them, the more I was thinking, do you know what? Actually, I still feel like I've got a decent team there.
You actually have Mounier, right? But
I've got Mounier benched him because I did not see. What happened at Stamford Bridge? Right? I didn't see that happening.
What happened?
What happened at Palace? I did not see it coming. And it was the same with a lot of my players. The ones I picked to play, I saw with good game weeks. Like I swapped Pogba for Zaha last minute, and I had Pogba the whole of pre-season. I swapped him out, got Zaha because I really, really believed that Palace were gonna.
Yeah, but listen, I think Palace home to Huddersfield. I mean, I don't know what happened in that game, right? No. I mean, Huddersfield played fantastically well, but Palace were shocking at the back. What's going on there?
Same with picking Alonso. Like, well, I ummed and ahed. You were taking the mick out of me between David Luiz and Alonso. What happens?
Yeah,
Alonso gets nothing. David Luiz gets. So what do you do?
There's so many stories like this.
So
on
anyway,
Twitter,
in terms of my team, there's a few options that I think I need to consider. There's the Alonso issue. I am a bit worried about him not in terms of his quality, but in terms of he's taken up 7 million of my budget. Chelsea, they've got to go into a game against us next week where they've got bans on Cahill and Fabregas. So who's playing? What is Alonso going to keep a clean sheet against Spurs next week? I don't think so.
So why don't we start with that then? So let's look at the games from the game we've just discussed, and we'll spend more time on some than others. But there was so much going on in that Chelsea game at the weekend that it would be remiss not to start there. I think so. That was the result that I don't think any of us were expecting, right?
Certainly not. I did not. Well, Burnley fans, really? Well, I can't see that anyone was expecting a Chelsea.
Tell us what you think. What, 3-0 up with and then down to 10 men? No one saw that coming. It was an amazing result.
No, and I'm not sure about what happened with Chelsea. I get the Cahill sending off.
Do you think harsh or?
Well,
studs up. So
studs up.
Leicester of the
studs
law.
Up, you're going to get opening game of the season. You got your studs up like that. You're going to get sent off.
He knew it as well. Did you see? He had a sort of disappointed look on his face. He knew that he'd done it. Yeah.
Yeah, he did. He looked around with the face of I'm a dead man walking here.
And like John Joe Selfie, it was just like,
well, we can talk about him later. But what a plonker. Yeah. I just didn't see it coming, and I think Chelsea aren't. This isn't. You've got to think it's a glitch. You can't think that this is going to happen to Chelsea week in, week out, but they've got to play Tottenham next week. Got to come to Wembley with a team that's now losing another 2 of their key players.
Well, it's interesting you say a glitch because a lot of people I spoke to on Twitter, a lot of Chelsea fans were saying that they didn't see this result coming, but they felt that there was something not quite right at the club. They felt that there was something
Okay, interesting.
You lose a player like Costa in the way that they've lost him, and Costa gives you so much as a player. I think he's a fantastic player. He's a nightmare to play against, right? And if you look at the first half of the Chelsea game, Batshuayi, who had a difficult game, and I've been sticking up for this guy because I felt like in the last couple of years, or since he's been at Chelsea, they haven't even quite given him the time, the pitch time, all the rest of it. But I'm starting to see why. I'm not sure he's much of a player. He likes to play in front of that back four. And the amount of times that Kante and Fabregas picked up the ball and were looking for him to make that little run in behind that Costa would make, and that Morata made in the second half, by the way. And he didn't. He'd kind of receive it, he'd have his back to goal, back to the defenders, and he just wasn't being a handful for the defenders in the same way that Costa was and that Morata was in the second half.
Yeah, so I imagine that come next week we'll be seeing Morata starting for Chelsea.
I can't believe he didn't start this week.
No.
70 million, you've got to start this guy.
I mean, unless I can't think what was going on in his mind, but unless he just didn't think he was quite ready for this week.
So let's talk more about FPL in that game then. So Cahill's gone, Fabregas gone for next week as well.
Which means that if you've got a Chelsea asset in the midfield, it's got to be Willian, really.
I think so. So I think there'll be a few people doing the Fabregas to Willian move, potentially.
If you haven't already got Willian.
Potentially, but
Can't
then again...
you would have had both.
Well, yes, and like you say, if you're looking at that Chelsea performance and looking at what they're going into next, which is away at Spurs...
Well, I'm certainly thinking about getting off...
You're getting off Alonso, aren't you?
I'm thinking about it. My plan. There's a lot of things I'm thinking about. My hope is to get through this week without making a substitution. It's all going to depend on price rises and falls this week. I'm hoping to stick...
Alonso to who? What are you thinking? Who's on the radar? The first one for the radar.
Well, there's a few defenders on the radar.
I've learned how to say his name, by the way.
Go on.
Kolasinac. I think that's right.
Kolasinac.
I think that's right.
At Arsenal is definitely one. 6 million, going to save me $1 million. That's always nice.
I think he looks like a beast, by the way. We're going to come to Arsenal.
All over the field. Really attacking-minded defender. So sort of fitting the Alonso mould, but looking like he was coming, I don't know, could be a good replacement. Okay. I also think, and I'm sorry for everybody, I keep talking about Spurs, but I also think you've got to have a look at people like Ben Davies, haven't you, after today?
Absolutely,
Ben
you have
Davies,
to.
When I got rid of Trippier because he got injured, it did not occur to me, strangely, it didn't occur to me to put Ben Davies in, but he was great today.
Seemed like the
really
obvious
well.
thing, right?
Today, Spurs' defence looked good, I thought. Even Kyle Walker-Peters, you know, he was attacking. I'm not suggesting you get him in your fantasy team, but Ben Davies,
Why not?
I think... Well, the reason I'm not suggesting you get Kyle Walker-Peters, not just Kyle Walker, is because when's Trippier coming back?
Okay, we need to know more.
So we need to hear from Potter about that. All he said so far is that it's a short-term injury. So does that mean he's back for Chelsea, or is he... Is it a couple more weeks out? I'm not sure. So that's why I'm not suggesting you get Kyle Walker-Peters. But Ben Davies, possibly, he's definitely on my radar at the moment.
I think a lot of people were kind of hanging on for Ben Davies to hear about what was going on with Danny Rose and his injury and when he was coming back. But since the other day, when Danny Rose came out and said what he said in the Sun newspaper, his time is limited at Spurs, I think.
Well, and even if he does come back and play... For a start, I don't think he's coming straight back into the team. He's not back in training yet. He's got another couple of weeks till he's back even in beginnings of training. So Ben Davies is looking like a really good option.
Centre of the radar or periphery?
I think if you're looking for a swap out for a defender, he's got to be quite high up on your list.
Do you think that Alonso to Davies is a potential?
For me, it's a potential, yeah.
Move.
And there's a couple more defenders that are on my radar. One of them not for his defence. Because he plays for Liverpool, and we won't mention that. But because he's on corners and he is seeming to be attacking it, Trent Alexander-Arnold, I think he's got to be out in the periphery of my radar. You'll see him floating around on the edges, and then obviously there's Higazi as well. Down at West Brom.
Yeah, absolutely right. So West Brom have got some really nice fixtures coming up. So those of you guys that have got Foster clean sheet this week, I think you're probably going to keep him. Would you double up and get Higazi as well? 4-5. I mean, I think there's value there.
And he's hardly in any fantasy. It's only 5% of teams at the moment.
Yes, but I guess if you look at it and again comparing it to previous seasons, a guy coming in like that, pretty unknown. I think he's come from loan from a team in the United Arab Emirates, I think.
Right. Okay.
And he's come into West Brom. He's a kind of unknown, no Premier League experience. I actually thought 5% was quite highly owned for this guy, but I think it's because he had a decent pre-season.
Well, and also
he
he's
provided
cheap.
a couple of assists, right?
He's cheap, so he's a good enabler. So I think, you know, if you're looking for, if you've got Alonso in your team and you're starting to question Chelsea, particularly in the suspension weeks, these guys might not be bad bandwagons to jump on.
Okay. All right, so we've talked a little bit about Chelsea there. We've touched on the Arsenal game. Let's just talk more about the Arsenal game. So, what did you make of the Arsenal performance? Because I thought they were, honestly, they were a bit hit and miss. I mean, Leicester played really well, a bit like Liverpool. Arsenal defended pretty poorly.
I was expecting more. From Arsenal, but then I'm not sure whether I was expecting more from Arsenal because, and I'm sorry to say it, Leicester fans, I was really not expecting much from Leicester.
Yeah, they played really well, Leicester,
and they played really well. And you know, I did.
We shouldn't be surprised. These guys are former champions.
We shouldn't be surprised, but I wasn't expecting a lot from Leicester. They've sort of slipped under my radar, I think, a bit this year. And I did mention Vardy a couple of weeks back and thought, you know, is it possible and you know for him to be a good fantasy pick? And then I kind of went, no, I've gone mental, leave him alone.
Well, they priced Vardy perfectly, didn't they? I think he's 8.5, so he's kind of like
sitting in there with Firmino and those players.
And it's like, well, Arsenal away, do you go on him straight away? You probably don't. No. You're going to hold off and see how he goes on. But anyone that got on him early doors, and there's a couple of people on Twitter that did.
Quite a few. Yeah.
A Leicester City fan that I follow on Twitter, whose handle I forget, apologies. But I think she didn't triple captain, but did captain him. So
Captain
you know,
Vardy
captain is superb, and actually
they've got they've got Brighton next week, so
yes, indeed. And actually, I do want to give a shout out to FPL Lamb on Twitter. So his handle is at FPL_Lamb, second in the world.
Amazing.
After
Friday
night, I think he put
awesome.
I think he captained Vardy and put.
Leicester fan?
Fuchs and no, I don't think so. Unless you can tell me different, FPL Lamb. But he had a ton of Arsenal players and Leicester players, and he just killed it and come like second in the world.
Amazing.
He was a bit like, you know, that's it. I'm done. I can finish
Life
now.
goals.
I can finish. So Arsenal, are we getting on their assets?
Lacazette.
Got off to a good start.
Good start. Yeah, 30 seconds in. Good debut, I thought.
Looks class, I think.
Does
I really like
class.
him. I like the look of him a lot.
You know, and actually, you know, talk 10 million. The problem is that it's getting to a stage where it depends on who else you've got up front, doesn't it? Because you're either going to probably have Lukaku or Kane, or some people I've seen have got both.
Yep.
So if you've got Alonso in your team and you can afford to downgrade him to someone like Hegassi or even Ben Davis, then potentially you can afford to upgrade your second or your third.
You're thinking about a Firmino to Lacazette.
Yeah.
You're not dropping Firmino.
But at the moment you can't drop.
Right.
And I'm actually really struggling with my forward options in terms of getting anybody else in because
I think there's just a lot of options.
Because there's so many options for three players. So Lacazette, yes, I think he's a good player. Yes, I think he's going to score a lot of goals. Yes, I can absolutely see why he's in people's fantasy teams. There's so many choices.
Plus, a lot of the forwards I'm noticing are getting more bonus points because forwards are getting more BPS now in the BPS system in Fantasy League this year. So if you're a striker and you're scoring goals, which let's face it, is what you're paid to do. So we expect the likes of Lukaku and Aguero and Firmino in my case, and Lacazette to get these goals. Then you're looking at bonus points as well, actually. And I've noticed that even the midfielders that are scoring goals don't necessarily get as many BPS. So I don't think
Dele Alli got no bonus points today.
No bonus points for Dele Alli today. You know, what's the crack with that? So
and, you know, Arsenal got to go to Stoke next week, and we can get to a review, but it's not an easy place to go, Stoke.
No, it's not.
So Lacazette, potentially on the back of it, I can, you know, he certainly started off. And I think I did say to you, you know, when he scored that first goal, I thought, oh, here we go, like we're going to get a hat trick out of him, and it didn't go that way. But I still think he could be a really good asset.
So Kolasinac we're potentially getting on. I think he should be on your radar. Lacazette, I think he's possibly on the periphery. Aaron Ramsey's taking a case for our teams, right? So I mean, a lot of drafts over the summer, Aaron Ramsey, and then taken out maybe at the last minute or in favour of Willian or indeed Fabregas. For you guys that took out Ramsey for Fabregas. That's a nightmare. But potentially, I'm seeing a lot. I think we're going to see a lot of transfers from Fabregas back to Ramsey.
Okay.
Or maybe to Zaha. Or actually, maybe not, given some of the injury news around Zaha, which we'll come to when we review the Palace game. But Ramsey's taking a case for our teams as well, I think, at 7, coming off the bench, which is a concern in itself, because if he's not going to be a regular starter, then you potentially don't want him. But if he's going to be scoring goals and Giroud's going to be coming off the bench scoring goals, then they might not be on your radar yet, but I think they've got to be somewhere on the wider periphery, potentially, these guys.
I guess with Arsenal, I kind of want to see what Wenger does next week, who he starts. I think we need to see with him who, like you just said, who's going to be in his team every week and who's coming off the bench. Because if those people coming off the bench are going to come off it 55, 60 minutes and they're still going to have a good half an hour to make a difference, like we saw with the players on Friday evening, then it's potentially worth a punt at somebody that might not start. But if he gets to a point where he's got a more solid starting 11 and every week it's going to be them, that's when I think you need to get on the Arsenal players.
I saw a few FPL managers picking Iwobi as a kind of short-term pick as an alternative to JW2.
Well, you talked about it, didn't you?
I did, and I had a bit of a wobble on James Ward-Prowse actually a couple of days before the deadline, gameweek 1 deadline. And I drafted in Iwobi, and in the end I reversed that and went with JWP. Now we didn't get too much from JWP this week, but we got absolutely zilch from Iwobi, I think. So. Fantasy managers with Iwobi in their team as a short-term pick, I think he's very much now a short-term pick and actually could end up dropping a couple of points in price. So it'd be interesting to monitor that one, particularly if Sanchez goes, as we're expecting.
Is he in Paris?
Yes, I saw that earlier. Yeah, it could be. Well, anyone could be in for him right now. It's crazy season, isn't it? The transfer market.
But a bit mad.
So if Sanchez does go, as we expect, then we're expecting more pitch time for Iwobi. Maybe not, based on how Wenger set up Friday. So a lot of uncertainty surrounding Arsenal right now. But I think you're right to put Kolasinac well in there on the radar. I think you're right to put Lacazette on the periphery.
Yeah, he's in my thinking.
Okay.
I think I'm thinking at the moment I'm not making any changes to my forwards.
Okay.
But he's in there certainly.
All right, let's talk about Liverpool.
Do you want to go there?
Yeah, I do. So I think when we did our game week preview, didn't we, in the last episode of FPL Family, and I was, you said, Liverpool going to Watford, that's an away win, and I kind of sat back and went,
yeah, you did, to be fair.
Should be, but and I think we've still, Liverpool have still clearly got the same issues that we had last year. We still need that commanding centre half that we're looking to pay 50 million for, I think. And I think if it wasn't clear that we needed a Virgil van Dijk kind of player, it is now very clear that we need that sort of player. I also think we need a kind of a more of a holding midfielder that's going to protect the back four in more of a way than the likes of Chan and Henderson do, who are much better in that direction going forward rather than they are protecting the back four. But listen, that's more of a Liverpool comment. From an FPL perspective, really interesting game because
lots of good picks from Liverpool, I think.
Well, let's talk about Watford. Anybody picking any Watford players? I mean, I've not seen many Watford players in any drafts.
Well, to be honest, I didn't see Watford scoring many goals this season. I thought they were just going to get, I didn't see much coming from Watford.
I was kind of impressed with him though. What he's building there, they're building a really big, powerful, strong team. And all right, we're not great at monitoring set pieces and defending from set pieces, but the Watford team looks big and strong. They've got players like Holebas at fullback, who had a little spell in FPL last year where he was a kind of an assists and bonus points demon. So they've got a bit of history there, Watford. I can see potential in some of their assets. I don't necessarily think it's Sam's radar, so you tell me. I don't necessarily see any of them on the radar just yet. But I certainly feel like, the likes of Andre Gray, now they've signed him. I think there's some potential in that squad.
I think you're right. I think certainly Gray, there is potential for him to do well at Watford this season, in a way that I hadn't really given Watford credit for in the pre-season. I was really surprised watching that Liverpool game with you. I wasn't surprised how poorly Liverpool defended, or Watford actually, both of you. But I was surprised with both how the quality of the attacks from both sides. I think one thing that Liverpool have done this season is that going forwards, there's so many options for Liverpool attackers that you could have a field day on Liverpool in your fantasy addicts, in your fantasy assets this season.
Well, I think the way Klopp's lining up, and I looked at it at the weekend, and I thought about this all of last year, by the way. You think about the front three, and you think about potentially somebody in that number 10, and you look at the two in the middle that are, at least one of those in every other Premier League team. protects that back four, and we've got Chan, Henderson, Wijnaldum, those sorts of players that prefer to be going forward. And then you look at the fullbacks and you look at the Morenos, and let's not even talk about Moreno. The Moreno, the Trent Alexander-Arnolds, the Kleins, they're attacking as well. So the only 2 or 3 guys that are even thinking in a kind of defensive mentality are the 2 centre halves and the goalkeeper. And they're getting absolutely, they're so exposed week in, week out.
Keeper.
I actually really like Joel Matip and I like Lovren, but right now, leave your comments, guys. If you're picking a Liverpool defender, I really want to know why, because we cannot defend. The only reason I would go there with a Liverpool defender is I would think about Trent Alexander-Arnold, 4.5 short-term option potentially. He's going to be on the radar. I think he should probably be somewhere in the middle because you've got Klein coming back. I think we've got some all right fixtures. It's not great, but it's not terrible. Seems to be on corners. Trent Alexander-Arnold, interestingly, took a couple of set pieces, so that could be a potential. That you could get some assists and some bonus points through setting up chances that way. And then if you look at Alberto Moreno, I absolutely did not expect Moreno to start. Well, saying that, I mean, Klopp did come out and say some pretty heavy things about him in terms of him being 100% back.
He was trying to big him up, I think, wasn't he? Making him feel a bit confident.
Yeah, but this kid just cannot defend. He gets caught out so often, right?
You don't know how angry he was during this game.
Oh, Moreno's just really not a player. But listen, at 4.5, as an FPL asset, forget him as a footballer, but as an FPL asset, listen, he could be all right. I mean, he gets forward a lot. He's a fullback. 4.5.
I did have a lot of people talking to me on Instagram, and somebody was asking on YouTube about him as a fantasy addict. Was he going to start? Clearly, the answer is yes.
Well, based on what I've seen, we need to draft Milner back in. And if Milner's back in, it'd be interesting to see what happens up front, because I think we've now got a decent option up front now with Firmino.
Definitely. I was pleased with my pick with him.
Yeah, people that haven't got Firmino in your team, have a look at him, right? I mean, we seem to be...
8.5.
Liverpool seem to be free-flowing in terms of going forward. Mane is 9.5, so he's going to cost you $1 million more. All right, he's a midfielder, so he's going to get those extra points. But Firmino, if he's taking penalties... You take on board what we said before about the BPS and the bonus points. He's going to rack up some points, I think, for Firmino.
And credit to you. You did say last week Liverpool will get penalties this season.
I do think that Mane and Salah are so quick, and Salah in particular he's like the Flash. He's so fast that I can't think who put the little ball through to him. It might even have been Emre Can, but there was a little ball through to him for the penalty at Watford. And as soon as you saw that he got clear, you thought all he's got to do is put a touch on that. Gomez is going to take him out, and it'll be a penalty. And it's exactly what happened. I can see that happening a lot this year. We do get our fair share of penalties, there's no question, because of our high pressing game and the speed at which we attack down the wings. If Firmino is going to be nailed on as our penalty taker this year, I think 8.5 could turn out to be very, very good value up front for Liverpool.
Certainly worked out for me this week.
Yeah, so I don't know whether you want to put Firmino on the radar. I mean, he's in both our teams.
Well, he's in both of our teams, so he wasn't on my radar. But for those of you that don't have him, I certainly think he really should be. And if you don't have him, then Salah or there's so many options.
Salah looked good, didn't he? Yeah,
really
he's had a really good pre-season, good first game.
If you haven't got a Liverpool player in your team, there should be one coming up on your radar, definitely.
Liverpool attackers.
Let's make that clear. For goodness sake, please don't get a Liverpool defender. Well, unless you want to sit him on your bench, then get a cheap one.
4.5 Moreno, TAA, maybe, but anyone picking Lovren or Mingale, you're doing it wrong.
Save your money.
Okay, so that's Liverpool. Who else should we talk about?
Because that was a really interesting game for me.
Very interesting result. Did you see it coming?
No.
Crazy
sorry,
result,
Huddersfield fans. I'm sorry.
I actually saw the Palace squad on Twitter, and I thought that's a decent the first 11 for the game, and I thought that's a strong looking first 11, right?
On Thursday, I took Pogba out of my team and I put Zaha in because I was that confident in Palace this season. What happened, Palace fans? What happens?
I think Huddersfield win dream now, weren't they? The fans couldn't believe it.
Well, Huddersfield, and look, I was that confident about Palace that I left Mounier on my bench. I've had an absolute nightmare.
I think I was surprised, right? Because you'd think, one of the best defenders across Europe in the last however many years has turned up and is now managing Crystal Palace. You'd expect him to sort their defence out, right? You'd think that they would be resolute from a defence perspective, but they were anything but at the weekend. Huddersfield tore them apart, and Mounier was fantastic.
He was, and I'm looking at Palace now, and this and we're talking about reviews of our teams at the same time here, but I'm looking at Palace now and I'm thinking they've got to go to Liverpool next week with those attackers that
It
you've
could be
got.
4-4 that game, couldn't it?
I mean, what is going to happen? Zaha, you were talking. Is he injured? Is he not injured? What's going on?
Interestingly, I saw on Twitter that
he'd posted on Instagram, hadn't he?
Yeah, he posted on Instagram something captioned along the lines of, God will protect me, or words to that effect, and a picture of what appeared to be his knee in some sort of funny-looking brace contraption, which to me, that's a bit more than an ice pack. It was some sort of the sort of contraption that you would wear if you had a serious knee injury, right? Like an ACL or something like that, a cruciate ligament. That is going to be a massive blow to Palace if Zaha's out. I mean, nothing's confirmed yet, so we need to keep an eye on the news, keep an eye on Twitter to see what's going on there. But if he's injured and it's a bad one and he's out for weeks or months, then forget saving a transfer this week. He's going to be dropping like a stone and you'll want to get rid of him.
Well, and this is where I'm watching at the moment, because I was worried that with levels of ownership that Alonso's got, that he would drop like a stone, but he doesn't seem to be. People seem to be stabilising with him, possibly because of the Cahill suspension. I'm not sure.
He looked good though, Alonso.
He did. And look, he's going to score goals and he will be good. Zaha, he's the one that I'm seriously thinking about dropping, because having watched that Palace game,
they were out of sorts, weren't they?
They weren't right.
Yeah,
they weren't right, and they've got to go to you lot. And I don't think. I mean, Anfield's not an easy place to go at the best of times, particularly with the way the Liverpool forwards were playing. So Zaha is a worry to me.
However, look at the way we defended.
Well, I know.
You want Zaha, right?
And so this is where my issue lies, because I want to know whether the bloke is injured or not. Because if he's injured, then I'll get him. If he's injured and he's wearing a cast or strapping in the way that he was in that picture, he needs to go quickly before he loses in value.
So just to be clear, the Instagram post then got deleted by Zaha, but clearly you guys that are fast finger on Twitter took a quick screenshot of that and posted it, and it came went a little bit viral on Twitter. So a lot of chatter, a lot of talk about potential injury for Zaha, so keep an eye on that one.
And there's a lot of strong options in the middle there for 7 million, and I've got money in the bank from the Pogba side.
Have you?
Well, I swapped in for Pogba, so
You've got $1 million in the bank.
I've got $1.5 million in my bank, so I have got options there in the midfield. But so Zaha is one of them. But yeah, Palace game, I didn't see it coming, but Huddersfield, really impressed.
So I another name that I've learned to pronounce. It's not Mooney, it's Mounier. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. He was lively, quick. He was. I know you put him on the bench. It's not a good look, that.
12.
But he was quick. He was fast. He looked like he wanted the ball. Really put a shift in. Knew how to finish. Do you know who he reminded me of? He reminded me of Jamie Vardy from the Leicester title-winning season. Right?
I mean, what was interesting about him is I actually didn't put him in for the first game week. I had him in my team because of what Huddersfield's fixtures look like going forward. He was supposed to be my Jammy Pick for this week, and now he's gone and shown himself to everybody. So now he can't be my Jammy Pick. Thanks for that.
Well, listen, I did a bit of background search on him, and if you look at the top goal scorers in the French league, Ligue 1, I think they pronounce it. Sorry, my French is terrible. If you look at the top scorers in Ligue 1, let's call it, in France last year, obviously you've got the Cavani's and all those kind of people at the top. About 3 or 4 levels down, you've got 16, Kylian Mbappe, 15, Meunier. So this guy clearly has got some pedigree from last year when he was at, I think, Montpellier. Scored almost as many goals as Kylian Mbappe, who's being touted as a £200 million move to wherever, Barcelona or whatever. So
he had 2 shots during the game and he scored both of them.
was that the stats? Okay, so clearly he's pretty clinical.
He's clinical when he gets the ball. I think he's 6 million. If you're struggling for a third, he's a no-brainer. Huddersfield's fixture's looking lovely.
Absolutely. I think get him on the radar, get him bang in the middle of that radar.
If you've not got him, get him smack bang in the middle.
Yeah, we talked on the last podcast about the curse of the third striker, and we talked about how Tammy Abraham was potentially played.
Didn't do anything, but
didn't have a great game, no. And we talked about how James Rodriguez, who also played, but again, I think he didn't do too bad actually, but just was unlucky. West Brom win 1-0 with a defender's header shot.
Didn't see that coming either.
But some of those third choice strikers were starting to be a bit more difficult. Hence, I upgraded to Firmino. I think you did too. But Munier was very much on a lot of people's radars, and he would have been in a lot of FPL teams.
I know. Yeah, I know. One of my friends on Instagram, we both had him. I think he played him. I didn't, fortunately. But yeah, so I think certainly get him involved.
Okay, on the radar. In
the radar, yeah. Huddersfield, and they've also got Moy. Played really well.
He was kind of partner in crime for Munier, wasn't he? He's the sister. He was kind of pulling the strings. Again, with Munier, he kind of reminded me of Vardy, and how do you pronounce his name? Moy. He kind of reminded me a little bit of Mahrez, right? A bit early to call Huddersfield for the title,
and again,
but they kind of reminded me of those two.
And I think we can talk about Southampton when we get to that game, but JWP. He played this week. Is he going to play next week? Because obviously there was all that talk about is he, isn't he? Is he going to? Now they've got their new signing, so they're straight swap.
Okay.
Moyes, yeah. 5.
So let's rattle through the rest of these fixtures then, because I think we've talked about the main FPL assets.
I mean, there's Everton beating Stoke 1-0. Rooney. I did say about him on Instagram, those of you that were talking to me about him, but their fixtures are dodgy coming up. So yes, I think Rooney looking like possibly a good asset for a few game weeks' time.
Well, interestingly, Koeman come out. I saw a match the other day last night. Koeman come out and said, we've got the win. We're happy with that. Pleased that Rooney's got, he didn't have a monkey on his back, but if he was going to get a monkey on his back, he scored that goal. Yeah. It's off. He's out there. But I think he made a very quick comment towards the end saying, "But I know we need to be better," or something like that. So I think he appreciates that they've got some very difficult fixtures
City
coming
this
up.
Week
right?
coming. So again, I think possibly Rooney for the future. Everton actually looked good. I thought against.
What did you think of Rooney, by the way, in terms of his physicality? I thought he looked lean. He looked sharp. He looked properly on it. Actually,
he looked back to like he wanted to impress, didn't he? And he looked like
Rooney
of old.
Yeah.
And we did have a chat of some of you on Instagram were talking to me about Rooney a few days before the game week. Potential for a five games down the line, I think.
Anybody else in that Everton team that caught your eye? I was calling Klassen, wasn't I, in the last couple of episodes of FPL Family. I think he had a solid-ish game. I think their defence had a solid-ish game without having too much trouble from Stoke. So I think Rooney's the one to put on the radar, if anything. Probably periphery at this stage, given fixtures.
Yeah. Not much to talk about in Saints and Swansea. Really, 0-0.
Other than the lineups, I suppose. I think a lot of us were expecting Cedric Suarez not to play.
I think
some of us were expecting Redmond not to play, but I think he put out more or less what he considered to be his full strength team.
I think same for Southampton as usual in terms of get on the defence if you're not on them already. You missed out on the points this week. They're playing West Ham. Didn't look like West Ham. Well, they didn't have
tough game against United.
They did have a tough game, but Saints looking strong at home in terms of defence anyway.
Yeah.
So I'd definitely be keeping my Saints defenders.
Keeping JWP.
I'm really worried about him. Not in terms of he's not a lot of money, but I am concerned that I don't know that he's going to play every week. Now they've got this. What's his name? The new signing.
I think it's Lamina or something like that. Yeah, I think he looked okay. James Ward-Prowse. I think as a 5.5, you're going to have reasonably low expectations. I think he's my fourth mid, so I'm not expecting him to blow up every week, right?
But then you could have Moy at Huddersfield for the same price. So I don't know. JWP, is he going to play Saints fans? A lot of you were telling me JWP wasn't going to play this week. He did, but he did nothing. Tom Carroll at Swansea, a lot of you have got him, did nothing this week, but at 4.5.
Yeah, there's a few people looking at Granit Xhaka as well after his performance for Arsenal. I think he's due to rise in price either tonight or tomorrow. So if you're looking to do a swap from James Ward-Prowse or even an Iwobi to Granit Xhaka, you probably need to get on that sharpish, because as soon as he goes up to 5.6, you're not going to be able to get him in without a bit of surgery to the rest of your team. So definitely keep an eye on those price rises. We did a quick shout out for Fantasy Football Fix in the last episode of FPL Family. Get on those guys. I think
put a little graphic up for you.
Yeah, I think the handle is at Fantasy Football Fix. Search the App Store, search the Google Play Store. They've got a great app that tells you all about where players are dropping and rising in team value. Now, if you can catch the rises, fantastic. But the things you really want to avoid are the players going down. Mm-hmm. So the people will be getting off of Iwobi. People will be getting off of Alonso.
And Iwobi, I remember looking at Fantasy Fix earlier. He's due to go down tomorrow, so that'll be Monday night.
Okay, all
so
right.
if you're watching this, I'm going to try and get this live Monday morning. So if you're watching it Monday night,
okay,
do it.
Any more
other games? We've touched on West Brom and Bournemouth already. Newcastle and Spurs.
Much to report from Bournemouth?
Surprising. I was a bit shocked by Bournemouth's lack of...
So can I tell you something that I found interesting from that game? So
Sure.
Ake, despite losing 1-0, being on the losing side and conceding a goal, got bonus points.
Oh, did he?
So I looked into this and I found that actually the players of the teams that are playing 3 at the back, if you've got the players that are in the left and right centre-back position, if you like, so not the one right in the middle, but in the kind of left or right-hand side of the 3 at the back, seem to get a lot of BPS. So I kind of did a bit more digging around on this, and actually it appears that the way that those teams are set up is that they normally have the kind of midfield enforcer in front of them, and they have the wing-backs. And the wing-backs are up and down the line making tackles, and the enforcers making tackles. And what these left and right-sided centre-backs do is they come in, they mop it all up, they do a nice pass, so they get their pass completion rate goes up. Or they'll make a clearance, or they'll just tidy stuff up. Of course, they're also heading balls away, and they're making tackles and all the rest of it. So for BPS... that's really good, and the more BPS you can accumulate, obviously you guys that are new to the FPL game, that means you get into the bonus points. That's exactly what Ake was doing for Bournemouth. Now, if you also consider what happened at Southampton, I think they drew 0-0, right? Yeah, so Southampton drew 0-0. Stevens at the back for Southampton, who I had, got a bonus point. Why did he get a bonus point?
Bertrand.
Because but Bertrand is kind of a wing back, right? So you kind of expect him to be kind of bombing up and down, getting his BPS from being in an advanced position. But Jack Stevens, why is he getting BPS? Well, he's there, he's mopping stuff up, he's putting passes, his pass completion rate, whether he's going back to the keeper or forward, he's tidying stuff up and he's being very neat about what he's doing. Plus, he's also a very good player.
Well, that's interesting anyway then. Something to think about.
And also, Kolasinac did exactly the same, right? So he got bonus points. He was in that the left-sided centre-back position for Arsenal. He got forward a lot, by the way, so he got BPS for that. But he was also getting BPS for being in that left-hand side of the 3 at the back. So a really interesting one to look out for there. That could be, I might have completely made that up, but I was kind of looking into what was happening around those kind of 3 at the back setups. If you guys have noticed that, if there's any other defenders that are getting bonus points for your FPL teams where you weren't expecting it, let us know. And I think Stevens and Ake were ones where I certainly wasn't expecting the guys to get bonus points. Ake in particular, being on the losing team, but got bonus points from raking in those BPS. So let us know in the comments if you notice that anywhere else. Don't look surprised.
No, I'm not. I'm not surprised. Lee takes bonus points very seriously.
Yeah. Right.
So I'm not surprised that you know about that.
Come on, a couple more games.
Should we talk about Spurs quickly? Don't want to talk about them for very long.
We've spoken about them. I think Davis is on the radar.
Davis is on the radar. Yeah. I think the only thing to think about there really is who you're picking. If you're picking in the midfield, Eriksen 2 assists today. Ali got a goal today.
I think Christian Eriksen's a fantastic player.
Yeah, but also what was interesting for me was Sonny coming back into the team, coming on as a sub, because if he starts playing from the beginning of matches, he could be a really good fantasy asset. Right. Attacking will score goals this season, and he's cheaper.
You're not getting off Kane. I'm assuming no one's getting off Kane.
Not yet.
No, I think he looked good. I think he was unlucky today.
No, I think he was really unlucky today, and I know Lukaku's going to score goals, and I know I'm like 500 points behind you already, but I do think that Kane will come good for me, and I'm sticking with him for now.
All right.
And then last of all, obviously we rounded up with poor old West Ham getting absolutely obliterated by Man United.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things to talk about there. I think Mkhitaryan, should be on the radar.
He's on the radar, definitely.
A couple of assists today, looked really good, played very advanced. Pogba, interestingly, played in a kind of more... a deeper kind of defensive central midfield role. Obviously popped up with the goal right when it was 3-0, so they're all bombing forward anyway, just to see if they can get on the score sheet. So any of you that have got Pogba in your teams because you expect him to play a bit further forward, have a look at that one. I don't think he necessarily played the role that we were all expecting. Mkhitaryan did,
yes,
and got a couple of assists. So I think,
and that actually contributed. That actually contributed to my decision to swap him for Zaha in the end, because everything I was reading about was saying Pogba's going to sit back. He's going to sit back, and I was thinking, well, I don't really want to spend 8 million on a player that's going to sit back in my mid.
Sure,
I'd rather spend 7 million on a player that's going to bomb forward. So yeah, even though Pogba scored and Mkhitaryan didn't, I think if I'm looking at a swap in the midfield with Zaha, Mkhitaryan for United would probably edge it on Pogba now.
Okay, so let's have a quick review of your team then. So what was your final points?
49.
49. Star player was Firmino?
Yeah, or Mounier on my bench.
Mounier on the bench. Oh, ouch.
Yeah, and then I had standard Bertrand, gonna get good points. De Gea obviously kept a clean sheet, but yeah.
Okay, so I ended up on 84. Pretty good performance actually, quite pleased with it. So let down a bit by the likes of Zaha and Ward-Prowse. De Bruyne actually, who we should talk about in a second.
We'll get to him, let's talk about him in a minute.
I'm not going to get off him yet, but he's given me a bit of reason to think. But then my front three, Lukaku, captain, Aguero and Firmino all did really well, so very pleased with that, 84. Let's take a quick look at the FPL Family League. Bear with me. So,
our fancy manager of the week.
This is great. So, Matt Vale with, I think you pronounce that Racky Races, right?
Racky Races,
Cool. If you struggled with your R's, you'd struggle with that one. But so it's, W-R-A-C-K-Y. Racky Races, Matt Vale. So, 108 points.
Well
That
done.
is obscene, by the way. So, let's have a look at his team.
Do you want to help me out a bit? Have a chat with me. Come and talk to me on Instagram. I need some help.
And Matt, if you're watching, leave your comments. We want to know what you're doing next week. Changing nothing by the sounds of it. Everything's looking good. Granit Xhaka, brilliant. Ericsson, Davies, Ben Foster in goal. Aguero, Firmino, Lukaku. Fantastic. Good on you, Matt. So Matt's in there at 108.
Can you beat him next week?
Yeah, let's see what happens next week. So that's it, I think, for this game week. That's everything covered, I think.
Should we have a little preview of what's going to happen next week then?
Yeah, so let's look at the fixtures.
Right, so we start.
Have you looked at these much?
Yeah, I had a little look. Okay. So we start off with Swansea at home to Man United.
Should we just pick out a couple? Let's pick out a couple. Swansea at home to United. Go on then. What do you think?
United.
I
don't think
so.
think United will score 4 against Swansea at home.
I think
it's not an easy place to go.
Swansea looked reasonably resolute. Remind me of the score. I know
they were 0-0 against Southampton.
0-0. Okay, so that's why it's not that memorable. Yeah, they look pretty resolute again. I mean, Southampton are pretty good going forward. So
I think they're
United coming off the back of a 4-0. I would expect them to win that. Would you go into it captaining a Man United asset? Actually, potentially, looking at the rest of these fixtures,
I think there were two big games, I would say, next game week. Obviously, there's Spurs-Chelsea. First game at Wembley on Sunday.
We've got to talk about that, right? So let's talk about that. Spurs-Chelsea's, how do you see that going? Without putting your bias glasses on.
Okay, so if I was worried about playing Chelsea as our first game at Wembley, I really was. I thought, oh gosh, I really want us to win our first game at Wembley. I want that monkey off your back. And then they got sent off. And now we've got...
And then Burnley.
And then Burnley beat them 3-2. And then Cahill's not going to play and Fabregas is not going to play. And there's no Costa. And then you're starting to think, well, okay. And then we played. And I thought, looked
very good.
Looked good. Particularly in the second half. I mean, I know John Joe Shelby's a bit of a plonker and got himself sent off.
John Joe Shelby.
And actually, we were looking all right until that happened. We were pressing. But Newcastle were doing a good job on us until that happened. So now I'm more confident.
Okay, I think you should. I think you absolutely should be. I think Chelsea. There's something
not quite
right at Chelsea. I don't think any of us, me included, can put our fingers on quite what that is.
And I think the press is loving to talk about how things aren't right at Spurs at the moment, but I didn't see any evidence of that today.
No, I don't think so. You certainly didn't miss Danny Rose. I mean, I can't see him getting back into the team.
Even with his apology.
But with Chelsea, I think there's something not quite right there. I will say that, Batshuayi, having looked at having kind of analysed how he played in the first half versus how Morata played in the second half.
Yeah, it'll be Morata.
If he doesn't start Morata at Wembley...
He will.
Who knows what he's thinking, because he's got to. Morata was in behind. He was making a nuisance of himself. He was flicking onto players. And Batshuayi just wasn't making those runs.
No.
And Kante and Fabregas were actually making this. They were looking, and you could almost see, like, on some of the replays, Kante got his head up, was thinking, if you just do that, go around the corner, I'm going to play you in. And Batshuayi was just like, no, play it to feet, and I'll play it off, or I'll play it sideways. That's not what Chelsea are used to playing. They're used to playing with Costa running in behind and what have you. So, look, listen, I'm not taking anything away from Burnley. I thought Burnley were fantastic, especially from some of their set-piece delivery in the first half.
Yeah.
But he's got to play Morata against Spurs.
And the one thing I will say is I don't think it will be... I think both sides will score in that game. So I wouldn't bank on your defence.
Okay, I actually think that you might contain Chelsea. I think I might go for a Spurs clean sheet in that game.
So are you going to hide behind the sofa? Or are you going to get some Spurs players?
I'm 100% hiding behind the sofa because I think without Cahill, who's the kind of natural leader at the back there, I think David Luiz is great. But we've seen what Luiz can be like when he's not being told what to do by a natural leader. He can't, he is prone to an error, isn't he, Luiz? But with Cahill there, Cahill basically, if you look at them, he tells him where to go and go there and do this and do that. So without Cahill there, who's the other guy at the back for Chelsea? It's Dave, isn't it? Azpilicueta. He's in that back three. And then you've got Alonso and Moses or somebody else on the side there. But in that back three, Cahill is the leader. I honestly think Kane. Kane is class, right? I mean, he was really unlucky today. I expect goals from Kane next week. Okay, the only other really big game that we probably should talk about is Man City and Everton. Just because I think we need to talk about the Etihad.
At the Etihad, and we need to touch on KDB just before we round up.
So, what did you make of his performance against Brighton?
So we're taking it. If we take it from just a football perspective, great, everywhere, all over the park, really engaged, fantastic. He had a great game. Yeah. Taking it from a fantasy point of view, he's 10 million. I want him scoring every week. It's interesting that, isn't it? It's interesting because I remember saying to you when we were watching the game, he reminds me a little bit of Luka Modric a couple of years ago. Certainly when he used to play for Spurs. He used to pull the strings and, he's a fantastic player and he's always at the centre of everything. But he'd always kind of assist the assist. And I worry that KDB... Well, certainly, look, listen, one game, right? And KDB is a class player, so I'm not thinking of transferring him out anytime soon. But in a week where, Mane has got on the score sheet, Salah has, Ali and Eriksen look as if they're just going to pick up from where they left off last season. KDB, I'm just going to start monitoring him in terms of his performances, because you're right, for 10 million... he's got to be getting goals every week. Yeah, and I just feel like I've invested quite a lot of money for him to be not scoring every week. But yeah, I think those are the big... So monitor for now, not transferring him out? I'm just watching. Okay. He's definitely getting another couple of games. Yeah, those are the big games for next week. Others, I don't think there's
Liverpool, Crystal Palace. All right, let's talk about Liverpool, Crystal Palace. All right, very quickly. Liverpool, Crystal Palace. It'll be a goal fest. It'll be a goal fest. Don't defend. Don't pick any defenders. They'll both score. Neither team can defend. It's our first game at home. Look, let's not talk about it. We should be winning that one. Do you want to do your top pick then for the week? Who do you think it's? So I think actually it could be in that game. So given that both defences seem to be completely inept and unable to defend, I see goals in that game clearly. I've put a book on it now. It'll be 0-0. I see Liverpool winning that game, and hopefully this doesn't come across as having my red goggles on. But I think having somebody like a Firmino or a Mane or a Salah in that game, I think is not only a good top pick, but also a potential captain choice for me as well. Okay. And I'll tell you why, because I look around the rest and I look at United away at Swansea. All right, I could go Lukaku. I look at Kane versus Chelsea, and I think, yes, there's points. Do I feel strong enough that I would captain Kane if I had him? Probably not, but a lot of people will disagree with me on that, so tell me if you disagree. And then I look at Arsenal at Stoke. Stoke could cause them trouble. Do I feel confident enough captaining a Lacazette? Probably not. And then look at the Man City assets. So forgive me, I've lost. They've got Everton. Okay, so yeah, it's a difficult game, right? Everton are a decent side, and they've got Jordan Pickford. I think played well in his first game at home for them. So potentially there's something there as well. So I'm looking at City and I'm looking at Liverpool for my captain pick and my points pick. I am going to go. And this is a lottery, isn't it? Because we've spoken before about both of those sides are really hard to pick where the points are going to come from. I'm saying Liverpool win, but who's going to get the points? Is it Mane? Is it Firmino? Is it? I am going to go with Firmino. I think Firmino. For captain and top pick. Let's go top pick. I think captain. I still fancy City at home. Against any defence, by the way, I fancy Aguero, and I think Aguero is in the right place at the right time. A lot of the time against Brighton, Jesus as well equally could have shared the points. So again, it's trying to pick between those two is a very difficult thing. I know this sounds like a weird thing to do to not have the person I think as top point scorer be my captain, but I'm trying to just make this vlog interesting. Are you planning to make any transfers this week? I'm actually not, because I'm trying to get to a point where I'm going to save my transfer. And therefore have, for the sake of a 4-point hit, I might have almost like a mini wild card that says I've got 3 transfers. Now look, I'm looking at the transfer market. I'm looking at who's on the radar that we've just put together and thinking, do I want a Mounier right now? I think I would like him, but I'm looking at Aguero and Firmino and Lukaku and saying, well, I'm not getting rid of any of those. I'm looking at the Salahs and the Manes and the Alis and the Ericssons and thinking, well, do I get rid of KDB for one of them? Well, City are about to play at home, so probably not. I haven't got Alonso at the back. I did go with Kolasinac in the end. I got that wrong again, right? Kolasinac. No, I got it right. Kolasinac. So I haven't got a problem at the back at all. I'm happy with Stevens. I think I would have been happy with Cedric Suarez actually, but I've got Stevens who seems to be picking up these bonus points. So I'm kind of happy with that. Who else have I got at the back? I should know my team inside out.
You spent all summer looking at it.
Oh, and John Stones, right? So Man City at home. Reasonably happy with that as well. So, and David De Gea in goal. So I'm not feeling like I really need to catch a price rise. None of my team look as if they're going to drop in price. Let's monitor Zaha, right? Because if Zaha gets injured, then we need to look at that. But right now, I'm not looking at making a transfer. I'm looking at saving it. Top pick is going to be Aguero. So I'm going to go top pick for Aguero next week.
Top pick for Firmino.
Captain Firmino or top pick Aguero? I can't decide. One of those two. I'm probably going to captain, because I hate captaining Liverpool players. I'm going to captain probably Aguero, and I'll go top pick Firmino. Okay. Let's go with that.
Right. So moving on to my jammy pick, as I said earlier, it was going to be Mounier. He's ruined all my plans to give.
As a jammy pick for this week.
Yeah, he was going to be.
You can't have him now.
No, I can't have him now. He's ruined all my plans by scoring 2 goals. So I think I'm going to go with Moy as a jammy pick, sitting in behind him. 5.5, I think he's worth a punt. Particularly if you've got JWP and you're worried about him starting, I think he could be a good option for you.
Remind me of the Huddersfield fixture for next week.
They are playing. They're home to Newcastle.
Newcastle.
Old championship.
I like that Jammy Pick. You're going for Moy, right?
I'm going for Moy, yeah, because I think he and Mounier, yeah. In terms of captains and transfers, I'm keeping a watch on what's going on with Zaha. Is he injured? Is he not? I'm keeping a watch on Alonso just in case everyone decides to get off that bandwagon, because I am worried about price falls.
Yep.
And I'm keeping an eye on what I'm doing about JWP. Is he going to start? Southampton fans, if you've got any insight on that, let me know. But I'm hoping to do what you're doing and keep it until end of game week 2, and then make 3 transfers. Okay. My captain this week.
So just a quick one. So you haven't got Lukaku?
No.
Feel like you need him?
Always, but I haven't. But I'm not getting rid of Kane. I'm not going to get rid of Mounier on the back of what's happened in the Huddersfield's fixtures coming up, and I'm not getting off the Firmino bandwagon.
So much choice up top, isn't there? I mean, I actually thought Rashford looked great for United today. By the way, he terrorised that back four. But can you fit him in? No, and I can't fit any of them in up front. That's why I'm thinking about Mkhitaryan in my midfield, but that's going to come at the end of game week 2. Quite like that. Okay.
Captain this week, I'm not sure. I think I'll be going with Firmino at Liverpool because
you're a bit light on Man City and.
Well, I've got KDB.
Would you captain him though on the back of what we've just seen?
No,
I certainly wouldn't.
I think it's too much of a risk. And I need next week. Let's be really honest here. I need my captain to do something. I think Kane will do something against Chelsea, but I feel that
got to stick with him then.
I'm going to look taking him out, but I think. Spurs versus Chelsea or Liverpool versus Palace.
You loved watching me squirm during that Newcastle game earlier. You've got to captain him just to watch me squirm every week. And I'll captain Lukaku.
I did do a little dance and it was all fun. Particularly when both our children were singing Dele Alli at it, and that was hilarious. So I think it's going to be captain Firmino, no transfers, jammy pick on Moy.
Okay, and like we say, these things. This is all a kind of a gut reaction based on what we've just seen over the last kind of couple of days in the Premier League. So follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram. We're at FPL Family on both of those media. We might change over the course of the week, right? I mean, if the Zaha thing comes to fruition, I'm certainly going to be looking to get rid of him. I don't want to lose any team value on him. I don't know who I'm going to get in at this stage. I might look at a Ramsey. I might look at Moy, as you've suggested.
Mine will be Mkhitaryan if
because you've got money in the bank.
Because I've got money in the bank.
I like that.
So if Zaha is injured, I'll be getting Mkhitaryan.
Zaha to Mkhitaryan. I like that. That's a good move. You could even look to do that anyway, actually.
Don't do what I do. Like, I've got 49 points.
I can't do that because I haven't got any money in the bank, so I'd have to change. And I'm certainly not making 2 transfers and costing myself any points. I don't feel.
I don't feel like anybody needs to react at the end of game week 1. It was too strange this game week.
Yeah, it was great, wasn't it?
It was brilliant.
Great for football to be back. Listen, guys, that's the end of the vlog this week. Thank you very much for all of your likes and comments and for following us. So we're going captain pick for me, Aguero. Top pick, Firmino. And you're going Jammy Pick, Moy. Mm-hmm. Captain pick, Firmino. 2 Firmino captains next week. That could be interesting. I might change to Aguero just to mix it up.
You said you were having Aguero as a captain. You can't make up your mind.
We can't have the same captain. That's just boring.
My graphics are going to go all over the place because you can't decide. I have to keep swapping them
Flicking
over.
between Aguero and Firmino. Right, cool. Cool. All right, that's it from me. See you next week. Good luck with your teams. Bye.